Hello lovelies, you're welcome back to my YouTube channel, and in today's tutorial we'll be learning how to make this lovely turban design based on request by a subscriber. If you are new to this channel, thank you so much for clicking in. Please kindly subscribe to our YouTube channel before leaving, and don't forget to also click on the bell icon. Now to the materials needed for this design. They include scuba fabric, of which half yard will be enough. Satin fabric, half yard will be enough, but you will have to join your fabrics at some point. We're needing both the big size and the small size of crinoline. We also need measuring tape, scissors, and then your matching color of thread and needle. For this tutorial, we are working on a turban design using scuba fabric, satin fabric, crinoline, and sequence fabric. So for the turban base, we are using scuba fabric, and 1 yard, half yard will still be okay because 1 yard is too much. Half yard will be okay for it. It's a V-shaped turban cap with the gathered or pleated base. Then moving on to the design, we have the crinoline design, and for the crinoline we are going to be taping the edge. Instead of bias tape, we'll be using satin fabric to tape the edge. Then we'll have the sequence design. The sequence design, like bow design, there are three. We'll be having three bow design. Two designs will be made with the sequence fabric, and the last one will be made with the satin fabric, and then we'll be having a loop to hold everything together. Now for the bow design, we're also going to be inserting crinoline into it. Before now, I've cut out my fabric, so I'll go ahead to get my fabrics and then highlight the measurements we are going to be using for it. Now starting with the V-shape band, I have 2 pieces of fabric for my band, and I'm using 4.5 inches by 15 inches, cut out twice. 4.5 by 15, cut out twice for the V-shape band. Now for my base, I have my fabric here. I have 25 inches for the length by 18 for the width, 25 by 18 inches. Now for the crinoline design, it's 2 parts, the upper part and the lower part. So I have 2 sets here. The measurement is 2.5 inches. 2.5 inches. Sorry, I meant 2.5 yards. The measurement for my crinoline is 2.5 yards, cut out twice, which is 90 inches, cut out twice. 90 inches for the length. The width is anywhere between 6 and 7 inches. I want it to be very full. That is why I'm going as far as using 2.5 yards. If you want it to be lesser, you can use 2 yards, you can use 1.5 yards. It's over to you. Now since I said we're going to be taping the edges using satin fabric, I have my satin fabric cut out for the crinoline. Okay, now since your crinoline is 2.5 yards, which is about 90 inches, you also need the same for the length of your satin fabric we're going to be using to tape the edge. Now the width for this is 2.5 inches and the length is 90 inches, cut out twice. This will be using to tape the ends of the crinoline, one end only. Now moving on to the loop design, we need 2 pieces of sequence fabric. Okay, this will be using to create the bow. 2 pieces of sequence fabric, and the measurement for this is 6 inches for the width by 24 inches for the length. 6 by 24 inches. You can as well reduce it to 20, 23, 22, whatever you want, but I'm using 6 by 24. This is cut out twice for the sequence fabric. Now for the satin fabric, because we make one bow satin only, and then we also have to insert satin inside this fabric so that it's not transparent. We'll be needing, in addition to this sequence, 2 pieces of sequence fabric, we'll be needing 3 pieces of satin fabric, same measurement, 6 inches by 24 inches. Satin 3, sequence 2. Then you also have to get your crinoline, the smaller size of crinoline, that will be inserting the fabric to make it very stiff. to give that bow effect. This is my crinoline. It's the small size. It is 3 inches for the width, and this is the hard crinoline. If you are going to be making use of soft crinoline, because there are two types of crinoline, the hard and the soft. If you're making use of the soft one, please, you have to double it so that it can be strong. Even though you are still using the hard crinoline, you can also double it. When we get there, you understand this better. In addition to all this, we'll be needing the fabric for the loop design. And I have 7 inches by 5.5 inches. This is what we'll be using for the loop. So that is it. Now, let's start with the fabrics for the design. My loop fabric, 7 by 5.5 inches. I will get it, fold it into 2 and stitch it down. After this, the rustic fabric. After stitching it down, I'll turn my fabric inside out. Then I'll get my satin, 3 pieces of satin, 2 pieces of sequins. Each one I'll fold into 2 with the fine side inside and the wrong side outside. Then I will go ahead to place this on my sewing machine and stitch it down from one end to the other. That is it for this. Now, moving on to the crinoline and the bias tape. This is my satin fabric I'm using as the bias tape. I have to fold in the right part to the middle and then fold in the left part to the middle. Then if you have access to light, please iron it so that it can stay in place this way. Now that that has been done, I will now get my crinoline. On one end, I'll place it in the middle of the satin fabric this way. Place the other part down this way. So this is how it will look like. I will then take this down to my sewing machine and stitch this down from one end of the fabric down to the other end. So ensure that you fold in both edges of your satin fabric down to the middle. Then get your crinoline, insert it in the middle, fold your fabric down and stitch it from one end to the other. The same thing should be done for this second piece of fabric. And then now moving on to the fabric for the cap. I have the fabric for the base, and if you look carefully, you find that the fabric has been marked because we're working on the gathered or pleated turban cap. When it comes to marking, first of all, decide on the measurement you want to use for each interval. And as for me, I made use of 1.5 inches. So what you do is get your measuring tape, measure out 1.5 inches and then mark it 1.5 inches and mark it in that order until you have marked the entire piece of fabric. Or better still, look for a ruler with the same width. Sorry, I meant with the same measurement for the width, and simply place on your fabric, directly on your fabric, and start ruling it out from one end to the other. Now, as soon as you are done with that, get each marked line, get the first marked line, fold it down and stitch it from one end to the other. Proceed to the next marked line, fold it down, stitch from one end to the other. In that order, you fold and you stitch till you are done stitching this entire fabric. So I'm going to go back to conclude all my stitching and then I'll get back for us to continue. At this point, I have my fabric already sewn. This is the wrong side. I've sewn down on the marked lines. This is how it's looking, and on turning it inside out, this is the fine side. So this is it. The next thing I'll do is that I'll be folding my fabric into 2 equal halves to enable me get the midpoint, and then I'm going to go ahead to make a notch at the middle. So that is it. And then I'll get the fabric for my band. I'm going to be folding this into 2 equal halves with the fine side inside. Sorry, I'll be folding it into 2 equal halves with the wrong side inside and the fine side outside. and then I'll place one end on each other so as to get that V shape. I will now get my pins to help me hold it down in place at the middle. Thereafter, I'll get the fabric for my base, place it to the fine side facing me. Then I'll get the fabric for my band. Now I'm going to ensure that the V shape on the band aligns with that on the base. So this is it. And then I'll use my pins. I'll use my pin to secure it down at the middle again. And I will extend the left side down to the end and the right side down to this other end, and I will take this down to my sewing machine and stitch it down from one end down to the other end, and after which I'll get back for us to continue. So at the end of the day, this is my work. I've sewn down my band. This is it on this other side. So when I open my work, it is this way. Then I'll go ahead to fold my fabric into 2 equal halves, and then I will stitch the band down like this. I will take it this way, then stitch it from this end down to this end, and after which I'll get back for us to continue. Now, if you look carefully, you see that I've sewn down my cap from the band down to this way, down to this way, and down to this very end. Next, what we're going to be doing is our running stitch. Our running stitch will start from here, from this end, and it will end here. So we need a needle and thread. For that, I have my needle and thread already doubled, so I'll just start by passing my needle and thread in and out from here to here. So as soon as we're done making our running stitch, the next thing we're going to be doing is we're going to be creating gathers at the middle of our turban cap, since it's a pleated or gathered turban cap. Okay, so to do that, I'll start by passing my needle and thread from the band, and please note that we are working on the wrong side of the cap this way. What we are going to be doing is that we're going to be passing our needle at the middle of the cap and through these parts where we had sewn earlier to form the pleat. So you just pass it through the middle here, okay, where you have your thread showing. Where you have your thread showing, that point you picked to pleat, you pass it through here, you pass it through the next one until you get to the end. So this is it, and I will start by passing mine through this point here on the band, the part where I have sewn, and I'm just trying to fold my fabric down, and I'll start going through the sewn part this way until I get to the end. So as soon as my needle and thread is out, I'm going to go back again and I'll tack it through a couple of times so as to secure it. Then I will then cut off my excess thread and flip it over to the fine side. So right here I have my fabric. I'm done with this. I've secured it. I've cut off my excess thread, and on turning it to the fine side, I'm having it this way. So this is my V-shaped gathered or pleated turban cap. Now that this is done, the next thing we're going to be working on is our design. I'm going to set my cap aside and we'll be working on the crinoline design first. So I have both pieces of crinoline here. Remember, it's 2.5 yards for each piece of crinoline, and my bias tape is my satin fabric, of which the width is 2.5 inches and the length is the same, 2.5 yards. So whatever I'm going to be doing for one fabric, because I'm using one fabric for illustration, or rather one crinoline, the same thing should be done for the second piece of crinoline. Now, to get our design, our ruffles design with our crinoline, we're going to be making running stitch on the other end of the fabric that does not have the bias tape. Now to do that, I'll get my needle and thread, which I have here. Please ensure it's doubled, and I'll just gather the end of my crinoline like this, and I'll be sewing through it, or better still, you can use your thread and then tie it down at the end. So when you want to end your running stitch, you also have to end it the same way you started like this. So that is it for that. So now we'll proceed with the running stitch. So this is what I'll be doing until I get to the other end of the fabric. So after a while, I'm going to go off camera to complete this for both pieces of fabric, and I'll be back for us to continue. Right here I have both crinoline, and I've already sewn down one end. This is how it's looking like. What I'll be doing next is that I'll get one and place one on each other by the side this way, and then I'm going to use my needle and thread to tack it through so that it becomes one. Okay, it's as easy as that. So I'll set this aside as soon as it's done. The next thing we're working on is the bow design, and like I said earlier, we have 3 satin fabric as well as 2 sequence fabric, and then I said we're going to be padding this so that it can come out strong. So if you look carefully now, you will see that I've added my crinoline fabric, my crinoline material inside my satin fabric, and I doubled it because I actually want it to come out very strong, so I can be stiff for a very long time. I did this for all 3 pieces of fabric that I have here. So I said we'll have 2 sequins and 1 satin. So to get that, I will get my sequence fabric, sorry, my satin fabric that has my crinoline, and I'm going to be adding one of them inside this sequence and the other inside the other sequence, so I can now have 2 sequins and 1 satin. So I will do this and then cut off the excess crinoline at the edge, then get back for us to continue. Now that we have the satin inside the sequence fabric, we now have 3 pieces of fabric. So I'll just gather this to the middle part. Okay, gather both ends, left side to the middle part, right side to the middle part, as you can see here. Then I'll use my needle and thread to make a running stitch through the middle part. Now that that is done, I will get the second piece of fabric again and repeat the same thing. Get both ends down to the middle part of the fabric. And then I'll go ahead to make a running stitch through the middle like I did for the first one. So that I have it this way, and then I can now pull it tightly. I'm trying to tie it through so as to secure it in place. So this is it, and then the last piece of fabric is going to be staying on top of this sequence fabric. So I repeat the same thing, get both ends, place one on each other and have it placed at the middle of my fabric. Then I'll go ahead to get my needle and thread, and I'll be making a running stitch through the middle part. Now that has been done, I'll set this on it this way, and then we'll tack everything down together. So this is it. To have our multi-bow design. Then I will get my crinoline design. I'm going to be placing it on it this way. Okay, see the way it is now. Then I will use our needle and thread to tack down the crinoline and the bow design down together. So most of these things is just tacking. So I'll go off camera to complete this, and as soon as I'm done, I'll get back on to continue. So right here, I have everything tacked down together. This is how it is looking. Next thing I'll do is that I'll get the fabric for my loop. I initially said 5.5 by 7 inches, but I would say you can decrease it. Or when you cut out 5.5 inches, that's for the width, and it ends up being too big, you can still go ahead to decrease it by folding it in. Okay, because mine is a little bit too big, and it's too big because by the time I put it down here, you see, it's, you know, it's folding, and I don't want that. Before then, I got my fabric, I folded it into 2 equal halves, and the length remained 7 inches, while the width 5.5 folded into 2 will give you about 2.7 inches. So I had it sewn from one end to the other. After which, I went ahead to turn my fabric inside out, and I have this. So if your fabric is a little too big, you can go ahead to fold it down a bit, okay, and then place on it. Use it to wrap your entire work, which includes your crinoline and your bow. Okay, it should come out very neat. And so at the back here, I'm going to get my needle and thread. I'm going to tag this down at this edge to secure the loop to the design, and thereafter I'll cut off my excess thread. Then as soon as I'm done with that, I'll get my turban cap, place this on my dummy head to get the right fitting for it, and then I'll go ahead to tack or glue down this entire design down to my turban cap, and then I'll be back to show us the final look. So that is how to go about creating this design. Now this is the final outlook, and with this we come to the end of today's tutorial. Thank you for watching. Please do well to share this video. Please like and leave a comment in the comment section. Kindly follow us on Facebook and on Instagram. Our page handle is JenieConcept. Don't forget to subscribe. I love you all. Bye.